What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Multiverse Monologues. And this week, we are moving on with our Marvel movie review, where we review every single Marvel movie from beginning to end, starting with Howard the Duck, ending with the most recent one, which is, I guess at this point, what is it? Spider-Man No Way Home? So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be reviewing every review. We're going to be on this journey for quite some time, but we are quite excited to be back. Me, myself, your host, Benjamin Rayside, but I am not alone. Join me again this week, as hopefully every week. We also have Ethan Wensloff. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to be here and even more excited to talk about Blade.
Very interesting. We're going to get into our thoughts. None of us have revealed what we've thought about it. And then we also have Micah Het here as well. Micah, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, excited to talk about Blade.
Well, yeah, let's just kind of our initial thoughts, because we each watched this separately on different occasions. I think Micah, you've seen it. You watched it like a couple nights ago, correct?
I watched it last night at 8:00. So
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty recent.
You made it through the whole time. You didn't fall
No,
asleep.
I watched it at 6, ended at 8. So it was like
Okay.
pretty nice movie time there. So
All right.
not like Howard the Duck where we watched it at midnight.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That movie felt. Maybe that's why it felt like that movie went forever. But essentially, everyone, what we're going to be doing, as I said, reviewing every single Marvel movie. So if you want to join us on that mission and watch as we go through every Marvel movie and review it with fun facts and details that you may not know about, join it. Click that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate it on YouTube. This also goes up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So join us. Leave us a review if you're on there. But we're going to be going through every film, taking breaks in between while we talk about certain movies that come out. But we're going to be in this journey for a while. So let's get into it, gentlemen. Blade, our first initial thoughts. Ethan, what do you think about this movie?
Yo, I don't know if it's just because we watched Howard the Duck last week, but I loved this movie, man. This movie was awesome. From just the first second you see Wesley Snipes on screen, you are just captivated by his performance and everything he brings to the role. I'm a Blade fan.
Okay, I had a bit of a similar reaction, but I want to get Micah's thoughts first. Micah, what'd you think?
I like Ethan said, I really enjoyed the movie. Definitely had that 90s cheese in there
Oh,
where
yeah.
they were trying to get as much CGI, as much electronic music as possible. I'll talk about it later, but it reminded me a lot of The Matrix. I don't know
Yes.
if you guys saw that a
Yep.
lot.
Mhm.
But yeah, this felt like a bit of a Matrix clone to me.
It
You
was,
guys
yeah,
you guys
100%.
catch that? Yeah.
Definitely 90s vibes. And apparently, so during doing my research for this film, vampires were huge during this time. Like, vampires, this was the thing. And this is why this movie was created. Not because Marvel was a recognizable property, but because vampires were huge. And they were like, well, who can we take from Marvel that would really do well in this era? And all right, let's choose Blade and let's pretty much make up a whole mythology surrounding him about vampires and about this underground like group trying to fight these guys, which I personally I love this movie. I think it's Ethan. I think it's to Ethan's point. Maybe we just got done watching Howard the Duck, so going from PG duck boobs to slaughterhouse rated R vampire movie.
This movie was brutal, man.
Oh my god!
Like, jeez, I can't wait for the new Blade movie if they take that same spirit and move it on to a new movie where they got, modern graphics and modern ways to do a rated R movie. It's gonna be crazy.
It definitely had its cheese moments, and you could tell the graphics
yeah.
are dated. But I don't know. Me personally, I don't take that as like a negative jab toward the film. A film was made in 1998. Graphics are going to be dated. It doesn't. I mean, it takes me out of it a little bit because I'm used to what we're used to now, but it doesn't. My personal rating doesn't affect the graphics. Like that does. I don't let that affect me. Even though at some points when Blade chops a vampire and they, I don't know, explode. I guess it looks a little
Incinerate.
cheesy.
Yeah.
It looks a little cheesy.
I feel the same way with the graphics. Is you can tell they're bad sometimes, but it never took me out of the movie. I mean, one of my favorite shows is Lost, and everyone, if you watch that show, you can tell the graphics just age so horribly in that show, and that never takes me out of it. So you can just tell that it's dated, it's a little older, but it doesn't affect my viewing experience.
Yeah, I'd say it's one of those movies that for the time it was like a solid movie, and it still kind of holds up today in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. So I wanted to actually do reviews first. And so I did something a little special for these reviews. So I got a 1 and a 5 and a 10. But these reviews are from IMDb, as always. But these are reviews cataloged in 1999, 1999, and 1998. So this was when they watched it back in the day. So I want to go through this 1-star review. Is it necessary? ? If you like films that involve lots of biting and kickboxing, but no light, and what's more, no sense of humor, then Blade is just what you need. I, however, need that as bad as a silver bullet in my head. So I walked out in the middle of the film. Too bad, for the first 10 minutes of the film were quite promising, but that's before Wesley Snipes came into the picture. A complete waste of my time.
Well, that's his problem. He walked out halfway through. That's why he didn't get the humor at the end. Dude! All right. I'm sure we'll talk about this guy later, but the guy about the hands. Oh, that was so funny.
So here, funny tidbit about that guy is he was supposed to not be in the rest of the movie. I think after the... What scene was it that he was supposed to be killed off in? It was either the hospital scene or a scene after that, but he was supposed to be killed off earlier in the movie, but the cast and the crew just enjoyed him so much that they let him stay in the movie, and he wasn't on the script, so he got to ad-lib every line.
Definitely tell that.
And yeah, that's why a lot of the stuff he says is so bonkers.
Oh, well, did you know that during that hospital scene that he's in, he actually broke his jaw during that scene, and he was like running around with a broken, like his jaw was like down to here. If you're watching on video, it's like just destroyed. So he went through a lot for a minor side character, or who was supposed to be.
Also, the funny part about that scene is I read that they were filming in an abandoned hospital, and he dislocated his jaw, and they had to rush him to a real hospital with all the makeup and stuff on. So they brought this essential burn victim into this hospital, so into the emergency room. They were all freaked out.
Dang. So I mean, this guy, he just walked out too soon. That's what it is. Yeah. He missed the ending. There's also a line at the end talking about humor, where Blade says, "So I like to keep this podcast PG." And this movie has a lot of cussing and a lot of F words. And Blade has a line during the climax of this film, and he says, "Some dudes are always trying to ice skate uphill." Do you guys remember this line?
Some mother
I remember that.
Always trying to ice skate uphill.
What does that mean? Like, what does that line even mean?
Well, you ever tried to ice skate uphill? There's no friction.
No,
you just slide right back down.
Who decides to ice skate up? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, that line doesn't make sense at all, and it made me die laughing. Like, I was.
That was also an ad lib line.
Oh, was
Wesley Snipes? Yeah, he. I think it was a background joke on the set, and they're just like, "Yo, just say this in the movie."
No way. So yeah, this movie is not devoid of humor, like this guy says.
And hold up, in the opening scene in the club when he pins Quinn to the wall, and it pans back to him, you see him go. He like does he does the fist bump.
Yeah. Oh, that was. There's plenty of comedy in this movie.
That was so good. Maybe he's just used to Howard the Duck and the Marvel. Because I mean, we gotta take that into account. Because I mean, there's been no Marvel movies. You have your shows and everything. Like, Incredible Hulk has come out at this time, and I think there's a few other Marvel.
I got a list of all the Marvel movies that came out before this one. So we got, of course, Howard the Duck, theatrically released in 1986, and then you had The Punisher in 1989, and then you had a Captain America movie in 1990. And
Those
then you had
TV movies, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Made for
and then you had an unreleased Fantastic Four movie in 1994,
which is free on YouTube if you've ever wanted to check that out. I have never have never done that, but I might. I mean, not for this podcast because it was. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that movie. It's pretty interesting, actually. But that's interesting. Okay, so there's not really. I mean, this is dark Marvel, not even made as a Marvel movie. Like this is like vampire first and foremost.
No, I mean, you look at all the advertising leading up to the film and everything, even on this label. You can't find Marvel anywhere on this packaging.
Really?
Yeah.
But this is what really ignited. I mean, this is 90s, so you have your animated X-Men series going on, your animated Spider-Man series going on. So I mean, Marvel's a thing during this time, but this is definitely not marketed as a Marvel movie. This is its own thing. Vampires first and foremost. I think Steven Dorf was really, really into it, but we'll get into the actors. 5 out of 10 review says, far too graphic, but it has a nice look. I don't think much of Blade is a film. It's not that particularly entertaining, and it certainly didn't add anything new to the cinema world, or the tale of vampires for that matter. It has a very modern, cool look to it. Blade has a nice costume and some extra special weapons, which he does put to good use. But some of the violence was a bit too graphic and unnecessary. The story itself is quite stupid, and Dorf, who plays Deacon Frost, is really annoying as the evil vampire. Although not quite as annoying as his bimbo blonde sidekick, who really should take some acting lessons. I was just really bored by the whole experience. A total waste of money and time. Could have been so much better. So,
dude, Deacon Frost walked so that Edward Cullen could run. That's all I gotta say.
Whoa. There's one scene in this movie with him especially, which apparently was like the first thing they shot with him, where he is standing out in the middle of the sunlight
with sunscreen on.
With sunblock. Oh, that was.
I'm like,
I was confused there for a second.
I was
like,
sitting there
how
like,
would sunblock?
Well, in the scene before, you see him and the blonde vampire like making out in the car, and they're rubbing sunscreen all over each other's faces. You're like, what? And then they fry what's his name?
The king
Dragonetti.
Yes, the German vampire leader.
Whatever. They fry him in the sun. And they got their motorcycle helmets on.
Well, I'm
and
like,
they hold hands and they ride off into the sunset.
I'm like, bro, if vampires can use sunblock, then what's the point of their weakness being they can't go out and just put on sunblock and you're good.
Exactly,
you don't have that as a weakness.
And it feels like them calling him Blade a daywalker doesn't really, work because they can just put on sunscreen and walk in the day.
That is kind of a cold name though. Like the way they use it throughout the movie.
I love
the
legend of Blade. Like he's this half vampire. So the cool thing about this movie is that there are two half vampires from different sides. So one was born a half vampire, and the one became a half vampire.
Yeah.
And then with Blade, he's got all the powers of a vampire, but none of the negative side effects except for the blood eating. So he can be out in the day. He's not weak to what's the metal, silver or garlic. So he's like the best vampire technically.
Well, that's one of the things that caught me off guard was how much world building this movie did for vampires and Blade. Like you have the scene where they're like when he first meets Whistler, for example, they go into all this detail about how there's a few of us who are fighting these vampires, and it's this secret society of like it's almost like a movie that's set in a future, like a post-apocalyptic deal, but it's kind of like The Matrix, as in like there's regular day folks like you and me who don't even know about this, but there's a secret collection of people who've been personally wronged by vampires who are just on the hunt for them. And it just goes into all this detail about who's affected by what. And they have the whole vampire council scene was so epic. I'm a fan of any council scene that's ever like a thing. And you go in there, it's dark and brooding, and they're all sitting at their chairs and everything. It's like, you are going against, like politics, I'm so into all of that world building. I was so into it. And I don't know. It kind of went away during the ending half because you had your action and everything, which was fine. But I was definitely more a fan of the beginning of this movie than the end. Still a good overall experience, though.
I like the beginning and the end pretty much equally. I think that both of those fight scenes at the beginning and the end were very comparable in quality for me. I thought it was very great choreography, awesome everything with that. And yeah.
This movie is so great because it doesn't matter how dumb some of the choices make and how rushed some of the plot is, or how they just skip over some things. You forget all that when you see Wesley Snipes just start kicking vampire butt.
Yeah.
It is so cool.
Let's talk about that first scene where a woman of the night leads a man into this this whole rave, which is so 90s. And they go in here and you're like, okay, what's going on here? And then
First of all, this dude is the stupidest man
yeah.
on the planet.
Oh yeah.
He was blinded by the
yeah,
the
you
lust.
can tell he's not thinking with his head. That's for sure. But
I haven't even seen this movie before, and I just know, oh, that chick's a vampire.
Right.
She's gonna go suck on
Did
him
you
later.
guys know anything going into this movie? I didn't even know that it was a vampire movie.
I
going
knew
in.
I know
Well-
some of his comic origin,
Yeah.
and I knew how his mother was attacked when he was in the womb, and how he got his powers, and I knew he hunted vampires.
yeah. Other than that, I mean, this movie reinvented the character. Because when he started out in comics, he was actually British, and he was a part of this vampire hunting team. So they totally reinvented his character for this movie. As you say, it's more of a vampire movie first and foremost than a Marvel movie. And I mean, most of these characters in here are pretty much made up. The love interest, I don't think she's a character at all. Whistler is there's a unique history to his character, but he is essentially made for this film. And there's a lot just that this movie did that was so unique. And really this I know Howard the Duck is its own thing, but this is really what started Marvel's, all right, we're getting out of bankruptcy, we can start kind of financing this project. And then next week with X-Men, it really takes a turn. And then with Spider-Man, Marvel's a thing now, you know?
Yeah, I don't think Marvel had anything to do with this project at all, because they went bankrupt in '96. That's probably when the movie would have been in production. They probably sold the rights to Blade to, what was it, Warner Brothers? Yeah, Warner
Sony,
Brothers.
actually, I think, owned
Oh yeah,
this
it was
movie at the
New
time.
Line. New Line Cinemas.
Yes, that's what it was.
New Line. So they sold it to New Line, and then they immediately started making this movie. So it was like right then. I don't think that Marvel had anything to do with this, and New Line was just trying to separate themselves from Marvel because they didn't want to be known as this comic book movie or comic book company movie making machine. So
Well, because superhero movies and Marvel movies especially were just in such an awkward period of time, because the year before you had DC release Steel, and then you had Batman and Robin.
Well-
This movie is the first superhero movie right after Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
And if you compare those two, Blade is a sensation, man.
Oh yeah.
so much better than Batman and Robin.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's do this 10 out of 10 review. This says on December 29th, 1998. So this movie came out in August 21st, 1998. So this is a few months afterwards. Blade is a great movie. This film has so much energy that even I'm ready to go hunting vampires. For a film geek like myself, this film has it all. Wesley Snipes can finally have an action franchise, and Stephen Norrington, who directed the film, will be working in Hollywood for a while. The screenplay is great, cinematography is great, editing's awesome, special effects are in a world of their own. This is one of the most thought-out comic book movie-based films you will ever see, and it has a great cast. It's good to see Chris Christopherson, who played Whistler, and Udo Kier, who I'm not sure who that is. And the only weak point in the whole film is the performance of Stephen Dorf, who played Deacon Frost. It seems rather weak for Blade, but I cannot wait for the sequel. So you can tell just right there that the special effects, I mean, this guy said, it's awesome, man. To us, it's dated, but to them,
I mean, even for the time, I'd say that if I didn't know what to look for in special effects, it did the job. It convinced me. I was grossed out at parts, and when they would explode and like get all morphed up, and then
Yeah.
In the hallway, I got a little grossed out. I'll be honest.
So yeah, people credit the X-Men film and the Spider-Man film for really cementing superhero movies as these big budget blockbuster money grab films. But this movie, I think, really deserves all the credit that those other films get. This movie did awesome world building. It took this, like, if you look at Blade in the comics, he is this goofy looking afro with sunglasses, yellow jacket character, and they really gave him a practical real world suit and made it so it looked good on screen. He could fight real good in this suit. And then you see the X-Men in 2000, they really take that into account, because do you have any of those X-Men wearing their comic book suits? You have them wearing just the typical black
leather.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what you get. This movie really does deserve the credit that those films. I mean, Spider-Man is kind of in a league of its own, because you kind of, that is like something that anyone can enjoy. Those I'm so excited to get to those movies, because I mean, I'm doing the rewatch last year for No Way Home was good, but now I can really like have my rewatch.
We can.
We're just 3 away.
We can get
Spider-Man's in 3. We got X-Men, Blade
it,
2, and Spider-Man. Excited.
So that's what I'm saying though. But this movie gets me excited for Blade 2. Like, I'm genuinely excited. I was thinking, I was like, all right, it's gonna be dated. It's gonna be a slodge to get through. I always have fun talking about it. It doesn't matter what it is. But it's like, I'm probably not gonna be excited for this. But
you know, I wonder if this kind of helped Sam Raimi get convinced into making Spider-Man, because he was a horror director. So having this huge, would you guys say it was a thriller? I'd say it was a thriller.
Oh yeah.
So having this thriller movie in here, and Sam Raimi watching it. This came out in '98. Who knows when between then and 2002, Sam Raimi definitely could have been inspired by this movie to make Spider-Man.
Oh yeah. What do you guys think about Blade as a character by himself? Because he I don't really know if he goes through a character arc in this movie. And at the start, you kind of focus on the doctor, and then she meets Blade, and Blade's like, all right, well, you know, I'm part of this little vampire ring, but get out of here. Also, if you go home, you'll die. So whatever. He's not really like, I mean, he becomes the main focus after a while, but it's like, does he really go on a character arc? Or, I mean, how do you guys feel about that, him as a character?
You want to go with it?
No, you're good.
All right. I mean, I thought he was awesome. I thought he was kind of legendary, and he had that powerful, character. It reminded me a lot of someone from The Matrix. Like, I mean, he's got the leather coat, he's got the sunglasses, he's got the cool. I wouldn't call it as good as duck foo or quack foo, but it was pretty good.
Definitely a 90s action movie star.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, to go with the character arc, he does go through a character arc, albeit it is a bit short. I'd say it starts. The first stage of the character arc is the first hour and a half of the movie, and then there's 10 minutes where he's like, I don't want to be a vampire anymore. This sucks. I don't want to eat blood. And then the last half hour, he's like, yeah, I'm cool. I don't want to be. I want to keep being a vampire. So.
He makes it look cool, man.
Oh, yeah. I want to be a vampire now.
Well, because what does Karen tell him when he wants to take the serum to not be a vampire anymore? That what's going to happen to him? He's going to die? I forget what
he's going to become a human.
Well, yes, that's what it was. That's coming back.
Yeah, so I think his character arc is he learns to just embrace the vampire side to him, We all have our inner demons, and he learns how to control it, how to embrace it, and how to use it to his advantage. And really, like, this gift he has is a gift from God that he's got to use to slay all the vampires.
Dude, that opening sequence with him slaughtering that whole thing. I mean, it starts off with those sprayers spraying blood, and I was like, whoa, we are getting into it, man.
This is wild.
I was eating some pizza at the time, and I had to set it down. I was like, oh no.
But then he walks in and everyone's quiet.
He parts the Red Sea.
Oh, yeah.
They all I think this entrance is one of the coolest superhero entrances I've seen in a movie. Like, just first appearance is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you have your I'm Batman, stuff like that. But like, this is our first time ever seeing this character in live action. I think that is hands down the best first appearance I've seen in a while.
Depending on how good these next two movies are, like, I'm glad that we're watching them now, because now we have something to compare the new Blade to. And I know Mahershala Ali is a great Blade. Well, a great actor, I should say. I'm sure he'll do a good job. But Wesley Snipes, he really, like, made the character his own, man.
Well, I watched Screen Crush did a video, and he talked about how Wesley Snipes, during the filming of all three of these movies, he stayed in character the whole time as Blade.
It was method acting?
It was method acting, and he only communicated to people on sticky notes.
Like,
so he was
no talking at all.
I'm not sure if it was no talking at all, but if you ever wanted to break character, it'd be on a sticky note.
Huh.
Whoa. Sometimes I really wonder what they truly mean about method acting. Like, because when I hear method acting, I think they are always in character no matter what.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
But like, so does that mean when you go home and you're like making your breakfast, or you're like taking a piss, you're like, can't wait to slay some vampires, you know? Like,
wearing the sunglasses.
Is that what
the
it
time.
means? Is he wearing sunglasses going to sleep?
That could be. That's method acting to the extreme. Most method actors just stay method acting on set. But then you have the extremes. Have you ever seen the documentary Jim and Andy, where it's Jim Carrey portraying Andy Kaufman?
Well,
and he like was Andy Kaufman on set, and Danny DeVito was there, and he's like, man, this is just like having Andy Kaufman on set.
Oh wow.
And yeah, it was that great documentary. I think it's on Prime if you guys have that. Or no, Netflix. It's a Netflix one.
Okay.
Very good documentary about method acting if you want to know more about that.
Interesting. Well, I don't know. He totally made the character his own thing. Like, I can see other people playing the role, but when it comes to him, like, he seems like a really interesting person. Like, I don't know if you guys watched any of his interviews that he did for the movie, or like just anything in general, but he seems like I know the guy I didn't know he went to jail first. Like, doing my research for that, apparently he went to jail for like 2.5 years for tax evasion.
I think it's like Robert Downey Jr.
Did, yeah.
Exactly. But this happened after the Blade films, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so it did.
I'm like, But whenever I see him in interviews, he's like totally devoted to his craft. Like, this was his role. He made it his own. And I mean, it definitely shows. It definitely pays off. Stephen Dorff plays Deacon Frost. I mean, that was an interesting portrayal, man. I mean, I tend to agree with the one reviewer about him. I think he was just weird, man. But apparently he was the heartthrob of the 90s. Like, this guy had a lot of girls swooning over him, but he had some weird stuff going on. Like, I'm forgetting. There's one point where he's like, I'm going to be like a sexy vampire or something like that. He says to one of the council members. Oh, no. I'm going to be a naughty vampire lord or something like that. Like, just weird stuff like that, man. I don't know.
I'm looking at all the other council members, and I'm just thinking, why don't you go just slap that guy in the face? Yeah. Why do you let Deacon Frost be on the council? He seems like such a oddball.
Yeah, why is he on the council if he's a half-blood?
Well, is
vampire?
he on the council? I'm not so sure. I think he's part of that circle of vampires, but I don't know if he's on the council specifically. I think they send for him at the beginning, and then he's like told to come into the council. I don't think he is.
Maybe it's just because he's doing something in the vampire realm, and they're like, "Hey,
that could be it.
Calm down, Deacon Frost. Your clan is being too rowdy. We got to stay low because we're vampires."
Well, because
know about it.
He's the vampire who's been organizing these raves.
Yeah.
Oh, so yes. Okay.
I think that's probably why it was there. They confront him about it. They're like, "Hey, you got to stop doing these raves. They're drawing way too much attention to the vampire community."
Yeah, and then Deacon Frost is like, "We should be doing more. We shouldn't be in the shadows and only killing people at night. We should be ruling over these humans.
It's
And-
the Magneto factor. Like,
Yeah, it's
hey,
just like
listen,
Magneto.
we're way more powerful than these humans. Why are we sitting here coexisting? We could be rulers of these people. I think
I
that's
think-
what,
for next week.
I think they
spoilers.
have. I think they have to coexist because who are they gonna eat, or whose blood are they gonna drink if they just take over the whole world?
They just take a bunch of iron pills.
I think his point is like we should be in control, and if we're in control, then we can just have farms of just humans that we can eat, I guess, or suck the blood out of. That was weird, man. You want to talk about a scene that made me uncomfortable? I know it had to happen, but when Blade is sucking the blood out of Karen,
Yeah.
that was pretty whack, man.
That was
like,
a powerful scene, I feel. I think that they did that scene as well as they could for what, because he is a vampire. It showed his thirst for blood finally, and I think that was a good scene. The one that I thought was weirder though was whenever Deacon Frost had blood on his face ever, he just got weird. Like the super sloppy kiss on the
That one
pool,
scene
like,
with the tongue, dude.
Yeah.
Oh man.
with all the blood too.
dude, I forgot about that.
It was
Oh my
so
gosh.
gross.
Oh.
They were like slopping the blood all over each other's faces.
No,
After he pushed the guy in the pool.
no.
Oh, come on.
You want to talk about another disturbing scene, man? It's the scene where they drag that one council member out and like burn him in front of the sun, dude. That was intense.
Yeah.
That was really intense, and like even for, I would have wanted to watch that in 1998, because like seeing that then would have been like, holy cow, what is going on here? Because he
Yeah,
literally
what would have been similar to that? Raiders of the Lost Ark when they're all being
oh
fried.
yeah,
I can't think of something.
And the ending of this movie really reminded me of the Raiders of the Lost Ark ending. Just the whole skeleton.
in the
and
temple
everything.
and everything.
Yeah.
The temple of, I think what is it? The Temple of Light, or whatever that they go into. I don't know.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like,
So the ending kind of fell apart for me because it was a lot of action, and it was just action beat, and then Blade's got to suck and then you have the weird thing with his mom, but it's not his mom at the end. It's revealed.
it's like his mom, but not mentally.
It was weird. And then she almost kissed him or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A little too close for me. I
That
didn't
was a
like
little
that.
weird. That was a little weird. So I'm with that on that one, and that definitely tanks the rating a little bit for me. Not bad, but the ending was definitely not as interesting as the beginning. And also, dude, I really like Whistler, man.
Oh, dude.
What a
that
cool
scene-
character.
It was so good.
That scene was so sad.
I know, especially because he was able to take the sheet off, and that he was able to say goodbye to him. Dude.
I disagree, Ben. I think the ending of this movie is just so dang fun. Because it starts with this Whistler scene. When he dies, you then have a silent montage. You don't have music going. You just have a silent montage of Blade crafting his weapons, prepping himself for this final battle. And then you see him zoom in on his motorcycle. It's just, I couldn't help but have the biggest smile on my face in all these fight scenes. When he kills Quinn with the cable weapon, he beheads him and
that's cool.
catches his sunglasses, puts them on, walks
That
over,
was epic.
rips the guy's jugular out,
Yeah.
rips it out, throws it at the other guy. He was just, Wesley Snipes was just so good in this. And I think the choreography in this movie is better than a lot of modern superhero films.
Well, that was the one thing that the 90s did really well, because especially like Mike has talked about, The Matrix, like the choreography and fight sequences of the 90s action films, they're pretty flawless, man. They're pretty good.
That's peak action movie right there in the 90s. You can find the best action movies then. They're kind of making a comeback now with like John Wick and like all the, like Nobody and all those movies like that.
I would also say Shang-Chi has really
Shang-Chi,
good graphics.
that was so good.
Yeah.
I loved watching Shang-Chi.
Like,
the action really kept me entertained the whole
that was the
time.
one thing that was like, I went out of that theater and I was like, if I get to see like a Shang-Chi Spider-Man fight sequence together, like, dude, he's going to be so great in the wider MCU. That's for sure. But to Ethan's point, I will say, for me, it just lasts a little too long, the battle sequence, and then the whole thing where they got to summon the, what is it, an overlord or
the blood god.
the blood god? That's what it is.
Yeah, Overlord was last week, Ben.
Yes,
Like
that's
the
right. That's
Magal
right.
or something.
That's right. But when he eventually does suck out the blood from Karen, which I think will last a little too long as well. He has one of the coolest jump down and superhero landing poses that I think I've ever seen. Like, that was the one scene I have, like the photo that I have seen about Blade, because that's like the one thing, like he looks up and he's got his teeth barred. Like, that was pretty sweet, I will say.
Like you had Black Widow addressing her pose in her movie.
Yeah.
But dude, Blade, I think Blade is the first superhero to do this pose right here. I don't know what the Batman movies did before it, but Blade is a beast.
This is what the Batman movies did, if you're watching on video.
Oh yeah,
They
did such a good job at giving Blade a practical suit.
Yes.
And when he is walking around with this big leather trench coat and the sword sticking out of the coat, he is such a cool looking character. And as we were talking about The Matrix, this movie actually came out 6 months before The Matrix.
So, it did.
It did,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
So
no,
they
yeah.
didn't.
So a lot of people say The Matrix is what started it, but my youth pastor was telling me, like, well, you know, it was actually Blade. Like, Blade was the first one to, like, really forward this movement. I think Matrix perfects it, though.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah,
about you.
I would say that too. I
Yeah.
would say that The Matrix is a better overall action movie that does the same sort of thing with there's a secret society, and
Yeah.
if anyone knows about it, then they're hunted down and all this stuff like that. And even the secret society can take over the people that don't know as vampires. I don't remember the terminology in Matrix, but they can take over the humans there and transfer them into more agents, and then they just fight. But yeah, I think Matrix did a better job at it, but
Yeah.
Blade does a very good job still.
Let's talk about this ending sequence here, because Blade and Karen pop up after the huge battle, and she's like, well, I have the cure, do you want it? And he's like, no, there's a war still going on, we still got to fight. And then it pans away, and I thought the movie was over after that, and then we get a pretty sick scene in Russia as he's taking down guys, and it's like, all
Or
right.
Moscow.
Or Moscow,
Yeah.
yes. And he's like, all right, the war's still going on. I thought that scene was so cool. But,
Yes.
and this is where it relates to modern day time.
Modern day, yeah.
Because there's an original deleted ending sequence where it pans across to a man on a rooftop, and you don't really get to see who it is, but it's Morbius. The
Michael
living
Morbius.
vampire. Yes. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'll play the clip, and it'll play right here.
I never thought I'd be so happy to see the sunrise. I need to get back to the lab if I'm gonna cure you.
It's over. You keep your cure. I've never felt better. Besides, as long as there's a war going on, I still have a job to do.
Oh, yeah? Then you're back on the clock.
But legitimately, it's really grainy. So I immediately, when I heard this, I went and looked up the scene, and I was like, all right, it's really grainy, but he's right there, dude. That was supposed to be Morbius, and he was supposed to be the villain for the second Blade movie.
I mean, it works.
It did,
Mm-hmm.
but he was owned by Sony, I guess. So it just,
Yeah, he's a Spider-Man character.
Spider-Man
so they couldn't use
character,
him.
which is so unfortunate because
Which is
Morbius
really showing the early stages of how messy Marvel would end up being with all the Sony stuff and the Marvel stuff, the MCU.
Yeah.
It's really the very first stages of that. We can't use this character because Sony owns him.
But could you imagine that? Because so now you have Morbius making his appearance. Legit, by the time this review comes out next week, and I mean,
Dude, that's next week.
Who knows how
April
it's going to
1st,
go?
yeah.
I'm so pumped.
Who knows how it's going to go? But I'm really wondering, because we haven't seen Venom really cross over with the MCU. I mean, he was there and then he was back for a second. Spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home. But in the comics, Morbius the Living Vampire bites Blade, and that's how Blade becomes his modern interpretation of himself. So could we see Morbius and Blade? Are the rights going to be weird there? Are Sony going to keep Morbius and Blade separate? I don't know.
We've already had Blade was in the post credits for Eternals, right?
Yeah,
Yes, he was.
his
And
voice was.
he is also, I know, supposed to make an appearance, rumors, in a Werewolf by Night Halloween special that Marvel is doing. So, I mean, that would be
Which
beautiful.
Michael Giacchino is directing. He's making his directorial debut.
Direct.
No way.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's got me
Directing
so
with
pumped,
music.
man. Are you kidding me? He's never directed anything before?
No, this is a debut.
Oh, man. Listen, if we can get Ghost Rider in there at some point for a Halloween special, I want Ghost Rider so bad. I'm so excited to get to those Nick Cage movies.
Well, think about his music in
Yeah.
Batman or all the other tons of projects he's done. Is the tone and aesthetic the music sets for the whole movie. Now take that genius mindset and put it into a directorial spot and see what kind of Halloween film you can make with that. It's going to be awesome.
Well, look at, so if you've ever seen, Micah, have you ever seen Halloween?
I have new one. I've seen
Old
both,
one,
yeah.
old one.
I've seen the old one and the new one. Yeah.
Yeah. So John Carpenter directed the Halloween film, and then he did the music for that movie. So the iconic Halloween theme that you get was made for that
he did
movie.
both.
So this is kind of what you're going to get. So Michael Giacchino, while he's making this movie, is going to have music in mind while he's directing these scenes. And it's like, all right, I'll put him here, and I know what
really
music I'm
good.
going to play during this scene, and it's going to be perfect. That gets me so hyped, Ethan, because that's what John Carpenter did with the Halloween special. So Blade's
So you think we're
coming
gonna
up.
see? You think we're gonna see Blade in this special?
It's rumored. Werewolf by Night. I haven't heard much about it though. Like, Marvel hasn't said much about this thing, but it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, I haven't heard
this
about
year,
it
I
either.
think.
This Halloween, I believe. But yeah, we've been talking about this for months. This Morbius movie, because you have Michael Keaton in the trailer. He's part of our MCU timeline. Do we know? We don't know what universe this is in yet, so we can't really say if we know if Mahershala Ali's Blade is going to cross over with Jared Leto's Morbius, because we don't know yet. We gotta wait till April 1st, and I think our questions will be answered. But
Just so you guys know, I don't think Blade's going to make an appearance. I think
no, me neither. But
maybe
I just
the
want to
night
know
credit
what
scene.
world.
What
this is a
about
part of.
Yep.
post credit? What about post credit? That could
That
be
could
a solid
you
post
have
credit
two.
scene.
You have two vampire characters from Marvel. Excuse me, with two different companies. They would be foolish to not collab in some way. You know, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. You know, I'm thinking of the future.
If
of
not
these
now, then
characters.
definitely in the future.
Yes, exactly. That's what.
Well,
we
this
need.
is the time Marvel is starting to explore the supernatural elements, because right when this movie started, because Blade has been casted for years at this point. Right when this movie started, I'm like, all right, it would be so bizarre to see vampires in the MCU. So I just kept having that comparison. But then we have Moon Knight coming out later this month, which is diving deep into the supernatural elements of the MCU. So I think casual Marvel fans are going to really be shocked with how supernatural the movies are going to start getting.
They're starting to wet the palate. That's what they're doing right now with Moon Knight, and then it's going to get darker. I'm waiting for Ghost Rider, Blade. Who knows? Maybe Moon Knight is going to be TVMA. Have we heard anything about that yet?
No, it's TV-14.
It is TV-14.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes down. But they just released a scene, I believe, on YouTube of an actual clip of the. I haven't watched.
I didn't watch it. I didn't
I
watch
haven't
it.
seen it either. Yeah.
No. Okay. So all right. Good.
We're so
And
close to the
also-
show. Yeah, go.
Yep.
Well, and we've also seen how brutal a PG-13, which is the same as the PG-17 on TV, can be with Batman, with the Batman.
Yep.
That would you guys say that was brutal? That movie, he had some beat downs and some There just wasn't blood. There just wasn't that much blood. That's all that was different from that in a rated R movie.
And I think that's what is going to be handled. I don't know how they're going to handle this, because with Blade coming up here, I think in 2023, how is Marvel going to handle this whole deal? You know, because vampires, blood's the main thing like about vampires. So it's going to be interesting to see if they could do a PG-13 rating, or maybe they'll just go the full rated R. You know, I think with the MCU, they're going to try and stick to a PG-13 for everyone. Try and make films that stay true to the characters and yet are also they have an appeal to everyone, you know.
Well, we had Daredevil's R. I don't see why they wouldn't make just like every now and then a rated R Marvel movie.
That's true.
And Daredevil is definitely not for everybody. It's not for all the kids and all the
No, it is not.
everybody. So
Have you started Daredevil on Disney Plus, Micah?
oh wait, not Daredevil. I meant Deadpool. Whoops.
Deadpool. Okay.
But yeah,
I think
same thing with Daredevil.
I think your point applies to both.
Yeah, I have not seen Daredevil yet, but with Deadpool, that's what I meant. Definitely not the best for all ages, I'd say.
That's true, though. Daredevil's now on Disney Plus. I mean, Ethan and I would both, as we always do, give high recommendations and high praise to that show. And please, I mean, Daredevil is going to be integral to so much of upcoming small-time crime fighting in New York that it's almost essential. It's almost essential viewing at this point. So, definitely a recommendation.
I mean, I would call it essential viewing regardless of if it connects to the greater MCU. Daredevil, I'm not going to go on a Daredevil rant, but Charlie Cox plays the heck out of that role, and I will always support him for the rest of my life.
Indeed. But let's get back on track, because we kind of got talking about Halloween and everything. Let's go back to Blade. Favorite character in Blade out of all of those interesting characters that we got, Ethan, who's your favorite? Is it the Daywalker himself?
I'm gonna say Whistler. That I thought he was such a cool character for the little bit of time he was in, and yeah, I just loved his relationship with Blade and how he's essentially his Alfred.
Yes,
in this movie.
Absolutely. Micah, who you got as your top?
I can't find his name, but the dude about the hands. That's my favorite part.
Oh, is it
Quinn?
Is it Quinn?
Yes.
It's
Quinn.
Quinn, yeah.
All right, Quinn.
Also played Harvey Bullock in Gotham.
In Gotham, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
Quinn, my favorite character, because he got the most laughs out of me. Definitely, Blade, of course, because he is really an awesome character in this movie. I think they did an excellent job at making him a very powerful vampire hunter, but also vampire himself in a way, half vampire. Yeah, I loved the running joke of Quinn gets one arm cut off, and then later he's like, "Yay, see this? I'm gonna hit you with this hand because you owe me a hand." And then he gets his other hand cut off, and then at the end, in that room, they're like, "Hey, Quinn, hold up your hands." Deacon Frost is like this. He's like, Quinn, hold up your hands. And he's like, okay, I'll do that.
I know. You're like,
And then, are they gonna cut off his hands again? That would be hilarious.
Yes.
And then Deacon backs out on it, and subverting expectations. But I think they did that really well. You can tell it wasn't scripted. I was like, is this not scripted? This kind of seems off the cuff here, but yeah, I really love Quinn.
all right. I think, just to pick a different character than both of you, I would say Whistler is also my favorite, just because of how cool he was,
Well,
and how nonsense he was. Go ahead, Ethan.
Can we all just say that Blade is all of our
Yes.
favorite characters?
Yeah.
Blade
But we're
is
just
so
trying
good.
to expand who we're saying.
Yes. All right. But no, I'm with you, Ethan. Whistler was so cool, man. And I think just a little bit of history here. Well, Ethan, do you know the history of Whistler and how he came into being? Because I know. I know.
So
it.
he was written for this movie. He's not a part of the comics, but somehow before this movie was released, he ended up in a Spider-Man cartoon appearing with Blade before this movie was released. But he was written for this movie. You go, Ben.
2
Yeah.
years before it was released, he appeared in a Spider-Man in the animated Spider-Man TV series. The comic writer went with the Blade movie and he was creating this character, they saw it and were like, "Oh my gosh, that's a really cool character." They took that idea when they were devising this movie, but he was still there, so he made Spider-Man and put him in there, which is a little bit of I mean, he's not like Whistler in the movie at all, but that's the origin of his character. Not created for this movie, created for Spider-Man, but ended up making his big day appearance here. So, here's the thing. Fans have been clamoring for Wesley Snipes to appear as Whistler in the Blade movie.
That would be so cool.
As his mentor.
Cool.
Could you imagine that as a little meta thing? I mean, you have variants all the time. He's this old vampire hunter who trains Blade. He doesn't have to be exactly Blade, but you have Wesley Snipes training Mahershala Ali.
That'd be pretty cool.
Come on,
Yeah,
that would be so
I
sick.
could see that.
Hey, why settle for Whistler? Let's see Wesley Snipes Blade in Multiverse of Madness.
Well, that's the thing. What are the chances of him appearing in that film? Because I think he's talked about it in interviews before.
Wesley Snipes?
I think someone asked him, "Hey, are you gonna?" I mean, Brandon Davis has acted so many old actors. I think he just talked with Nick Cage about his appearance or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder. I think I remember hearing him say something about it. I think in a little, but he said he's never been. I mean, no one's gonna say they're in that movie, but I mean, it's pretty much. I mean, Deadpool is definitely in it, right? Come on. Ryan Reynolds been doing so much press lately.
I don't know. He's just been doing press for his own movie.
I
The
guess
Adam
I just
Project.
don't trust anyone after Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
I personally don't think that Deadpool is going to be in Multiverse of Madness. I don't think it.
I'm calling it. I'm saying he will be in.
You're calling
Multiverse.
it? All right. What about you, Ethan? What do you think? Is Deadpool in Mom?
In Mom.
Yeah, I'll say he's in there.
Ooh, all right. We'll see.
There's that little image in the poster, man.
Yeah,
that if you
I
ate
see
if you
it.
ate
I
Kenny
don't
that
see
thing.
it.
I don't know. I
There's
That's
only
a,
so many
that's a
Ks
weird
you can get.
reflection on the glass.
could be. Absolutely. Favorite scene out of all the scenes in the movie, if you had to pick one scene that you'd think of as your favorite, what would it be? I would say for me, as you guys think about it, it's got to be the opening sequence, for sure. Vampires are having their rave, and Wesley Snipes walks in like a boss and totally takes out almost everyone there, and then they all just scatter and everything. The action sequences, it totally brought me into the film, and it's what made me say, oh my gosh, all right, maybe I might be in for a pretty good movie here. I think that opening sequence, I think that's my favorite. I don't know if either you two have one right now, but for me, that one takes a cake for me.
I mean, yeah, it's like the best scene in the whole movie. Second only, I mean, the second spot, I guess, would be the ending fight for me. From the time that he rides in on the motorcycle and just boom with the shotgun, one arms the shotgun. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
To
Dude.
every single guy, and they're like, "I'm not a vampire." No. Doesn't matter. Get out of here. I'm vengeance. You know.
Yes.
From that point on, he takes out those two guys in the hallway with the blue serum stuff, explodes them, takes out a bunch of guys after he sucks some more blood to get his full vampire strength back. And yeah, I really love that end part when he when he throws the sword up, and throughout the movie you see the handle
Yes.
has this timer where after a couple seconds it explodes. And then there like these little knives come out of it, and then they go back in. But they knock off one of Quinn's hands. That's another way he loses a hand. So he throws that up into a rock, and then the rock has the blue serum in it, and he breaks the rock and catches it behind his back. That was epic.
That is so cool, man.
Unnecessary, but entirely 90s. I love it.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
a lot of movies, when they do crazy action sequences that are dumb, it takes me out of it. But it worked so well, having him do
The
all
cheese
this crazy stuff.
is the best part of the
Yes.
cheeseburger. Gotta
Yeah.
say.
Yes. I like that, man. Ethan, you got a favorite scene?
Yeah, probably. Just the whole lead up to the end fight, end part of the end fight, when he's crafting his weapons with the silver, he's melting it down and pouring it. It gets you so hyped for the third act. And then when he uses the garrote wire to cut off Quinn's head and he catches the sunglasses, that whole I rewatched that scene after I finished the movie. That whole 2-minute sequence with the jugular and everything, I just can't get over how cool that whole sequence was.
Yes, dude. That is so epic. All right, gentlemen. We've talked a lot about things that we really like in this movie. Do you have a least favorite scene? Because I know that there is a lot in this film that's good, but there's a lot of cheese, there's a lot of camp, and there's definitely some scenes that scream out, I don't know about this. For me, they visit this thing. I don't really know what you call it. It's a very bloated vampire.
Oh, yeah.
It was so disgusting. And apparently that's a dude. I thought it was...
I thought that was a woman, too.
I thought it was a chick, but it's a dude. And that was so disgusting. They said in deleted scenes there were children around him that he had eaten to add for the effect, but they took it out because it was too disgusting, which I'm very glad about. I don't know. That scene for me was just so disgusting and horrible. I did not like that.
Yeah, I think my brain kind of took that scene out of my head.
Yeah.
I remember it.
And then she,
Thank you.
Karen. We haven't talked about the Karen.
I hated every scene with Karen. I thought she was kind of like
when she was frying the fat dude with the light. That might have been worse than the introduction.
Oh man, then like the skin was peeling off.
Yeah.
Her character is like this in the whole movie. The first act, she's like, "Oh, I've never used a gun," and Wesley Snipes is like, "Oh, well, the safety's right there." And then in the end of it, she is shooting vampires left and right.
I know. It's very Walking Dead.
She just learned how to do things very fast.
Right. It's like it's kind of one of those things where
yeah.
why does everyone get headshots first try? I mean, even people who don't know. It's kind of like that. I'm with you guys though. Did not like Karen as a character.
Yeah, I thought that they had to have her in there for the whole hematology thing. All of his chemical weapons that he has come from her. So yeah, it works in that way. But all of her actual character stuff didn't make any sense to me. I didn't like the scenes where it was just her, just kind of walking around the apartment. I did the jump scare was pretty good though. When the sword is revealed for the first time to explode like that.
Did you know
like that
scene was supposed to be longer, and there was supposed to be a shot of a tank with baby vampires in there as Blade's like kind of dissecting them and figuring out what they are. But that scene was cut. But definitely disgusting. But as she's walking through there, she sees the sword, and then she sees the tank, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's disgusting. So stuff they cut out of this film, I think the cuts definitely work in the favor of this movie. That's for sure. I also didn't like Deacon Frost. I don't know. He was not that great of a villain for me.
I liked him. I think that the only parts I didn't like for him was whenever he had blood on his face, except for the end fight. Like it just happened to be whenever he had blood on his face and he was like making out with people. Like yeah, it was gross. I didn't like those, but I liked how he was breaking from the traditional vampire ways, and he was like, all right, let's get moving here. We can own the world. I like that idea where the vampire is finally like, there's a change, and the old vampires don't want to do that, but Deacon Frost is still pushing forward, and he's this new leader rising up, forcing his way through and murdering the top vampire dude so he can control everything. I thought that was a good story, but the vampire romance, I don't understand why vampires always have to have this cringy romance.
Like it's so weirdly sexual. No matter what you're watching, if it's vampires, it's got to be like overtly sexual. Maybe it's the neck thing, I don't know. But it's just weird, man. I'm with you.
So before this movie, what is your guys' exposure to vampires and vampire lore?
Pretty much nothing except for Yeah, I think that's it actually.
They
I just
they
know
sparkle
of
in the
them.
sun.
You know,
Yeah.
I just know of vampires like in pop culture. You know, just your standard. Garlic is bad for them. Silver is bad. They can't go out in the sun. And then I have heard things about Twilight. But
They
that's
sparkle
it.
in the sun. They stop moving trucks.
I've never seen Twilight, but I've
I haven't
just
either.
Same
heard.
here. Same here.
I've heard about it. Maybe we'll do a podcast on it. Definitely not. But
I'm gonna have to sit that one out.
yeah. Not for me. Not for me.
What about you, Micah? You got any exposure?
No,
No?
no. I mean, there's Hotel Transylvania, I guess.
Oh, you know what? Forgot about Hotel Transylvania.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 blah. Yes. All right. You know what? I take it back. Ethan, do you have experience?
I mean, I've seen some of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which, yeah, and then Supernatural. I've watched 4 seasons of that. There are some arcs that address vampires, and there's a very Blade-esque character in
Really?
Supernatural too that is hunting down vampires.
Okay.
Because I think in the Supernatural world, they are minding their own business, like they suck on the blood of cows and stuff. But this character, I forget his name, he goes around killing vampires just because of what their potential is. They can suck on humans, but they're not right now. But he just wants to rid the world of them.
Okay.
I guess if I had one thing to say about vampires, it's just such a classic cliche at this point with where they were so oversaturated in just like Hollywood and Halloween and there's vampires, werewolves, and like I don't know, mummies. Those are the top 3 monsters, and
zombies.
Zombies. Yeah, but zombies have kind of they've been around a lot longer. I think that they've stood the test of time because they're more realistic. We can see a disease making the dead come back to life somehow. I don't know, but with vampires, they're more mythical than that, and they're kind of cheesy in that way. We've been with Twilight, our view of vampires have kind of dwindled. They're not as strong as they used to be. With the original Dracula movie, I haven't seen. Have you guys seen the original Dracula movie?
I haven't seen any of them.
I heard that's a classic, good. It's just genuinely scary. No.
Okay.
Is that what you're?
If we're talking about the same Dracula movie, are you talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman as Dracula?
I don't know. I know that one of them is good. I've heard one of them is good. Anyway, so I think that vampires have they have a lot of potential. They could come back. I feel like they can have this resurgence with Morbius and Blade.
Oh yeah.
I think that they can bring vampires back to the level of zombies at this point.
Well, this has got me excited to watch Morbius. Weirdly enough, like seeing this about vampires and everything, I wonder how much Morbius is going to touch on the vampire side of things. You know, how much I think it's more focused on Michael himself, but who knows, man? We could get more. I mean, I'm personally hoping for a Spider-Man cameo of sorts, but that's just me. But I'm with you.
From the trailer, it looked like the Morbius, the vampire disease was like this uncovered ancient thing that happened. But in Blade, they're like, yeah, we've been in hiding for this long, and we don't want to get our cover blown by your raves. So I can see how they can fit the whole vampire cult in there. And
so maybe that's how the MCU does it, is we don't just find out that there's been vampires this whole time. There's kind of like a start to it, like a zombie apocalypse type start. Is someone does something, they get infected, become a vampire. Because I don't know if just having this big reveal like, oh yeah, there's been vampires in the underworld this whole time. Maybe that'll work.
Yeah.
But
we're not going to have a
biggest
secret
fan
invasion
of
with
that as a
vampires.
concept. Yeah. I don't know. It just, that whole thing of, oh, well, hey, guess what? We've been here the whole time. Like, that was one of the things I was skeptical about with Eternals. So it's like, when you say that, you're like, all right, well, now we got to go relook at everything and make sure it makes sense. which is why the Skrull idea for Secret Invasion, that is appealing to me because you don't have to. It's just, oh, this was this way the whole time, you know?
Yeah, I wonder how many of those they can do, because having 3 groups of characters that have been since beginning of time with the Eternals, with the vampires, and with the Skrulls, I don't know if that would work too well. And unless if the vampires are in the Raimiverse. You guys think that? I mean, this is the Blade podcast, but Morbius is the next movie that potentially could have Blade in it. So, for future MCU, do you think that Raimiverse is where we will see Blade?
Well, how much do you think we're going to be focusing on the Raimiverse? You know,
because Raimiverse, you mean the OG Spider-Man trilogy?
Yeah. You know? Do you guys think that Morbius is in the Raimiverse, and do you think that they're going to just have this? Because
right.
Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was in the background in the Morbius trailer.
But you also have Andrew Garfield's Oscorp, and like, then you have also Michael Keaton's Vulture, you know? So it's like...
So is this going to be a new universe, or is this going to be the Sony universe, or is this going to be a what universe?
I think it'll most likely it's going to be the Sony universe that the Venom movies have been taking place in, and they're just pulling these elements out from other universes and using them. But why Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is on a poster, I have no idea.
Who can say, man? Also, why is he a murderer? So, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens when we finally get to see this movie that was supposed to come out in early 2020.
Sheesh.
I know, it's been a long time, man. This one, I think out of every film besides like, what's it? Top Gun, Maverick, this has been delayed the longest.
Yeah, I think this is the last. Is this the last movie to come out? Has Top Gun already come out?
I don't think Top Gun's come out yet.
From the I guess Top Gun. After this would be Top Gun, and then that's all the pandemic movies really that suffered delays.
I don't know. Is this gonna be good? Why would you keep delaying this if not to add things to it? You know?
Yeah.
Because also, I just am tired. I know we're talking about Blade here, but I'm tired of Sony's whole spiel on let's make movies solely about Spider-Man villains. They're Spider-Man villains. You need to have Spider-Man involved. You know? I mean, I know they got their backstories and everything, but come on.
They have to have plans to bring a Spider-Man in at some point because they are not stopping anytime soon. They got a Kraven the Hunter movie coming out. They've got the Madam Web movie coming out with all the casting that's been going around with that.
Who? They got Dakota Johnson, right? As Madam Web.
Dakota Johnson, and then Sydney Sweeney as some unknown character. But she's blonde. So they're saying maybe, is it a Spider-Gwen or something? We don't know yet.
A news? No. Get Emma Stone here. Come on. We gotta have Emma Stone.
That's what everyone's saying, yeah.
Maybe she's Black Cat.
Oh,
although why would Black Cat be in a Madam Web film? Also, what the heck is a Madam Web film? Like, what's she gonna do? She oversees the Spider-Verse, which is pretty interesting, actually. But I don't know.
It's gonna be the Multiverse of Madness of if we know what Multiverse of Madness is about.
Sony's Multiverse.
But for Spider-Verse.
yeah. That could be the first Spider-Verse movie. What if it's a working title? Ooh, you know? Very interesting. All right, let's shift it back to Blade. Is there anything else you guys don't like about this movie? Or
so to me, a lot of the cinematography was real whack, and some of the editing was weird. Specifically, is the car chase sequence.
I was gonna say that too.
That scene, that was really the only scene that really took me out of the movie because it was so stupid. Why did they do that? They like sped it up and it looked real weird. It looked like a Looney Tunes cartoon type.
Yeah, it looked like
deal.
the silent films when they have cars and people running around. They're like.
I wonder what people thought of that during the day. Because I'm watching this, I'm like, you can totally tell this is whack. Yeah. But maybe back in the day you couldn't tell. I don't know. Some things are a little inexcusable.
You go, Mike.
Okay, the cinematography was just kind of weird in general. I noticed in the first hour there were people's foreheads cut off. But it was like wide shots. It was like if you're watching on YouTube, it would have been like this, but this is the person that's talking.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's like there's nothing to focus on in the rest of the picture. It's just they cut off the person for some reason.
That
And
is
then they have
true.
another shot of Blade where it's real nice and close, and his face is almost out of the camera like this. Did you guys notice that scene too, or that shot?
I feel like I remember looking at it.
Yeah, but it was all in the first hour. I wonder if after the first like half hour during the bar scene when they go into that, and then after that, I didn't notice anything bad about the camera work. What do you guys think of the music, the
Well,
EDM and
soundtrack is the most important thing to me in a film, and I think that opening rave music that was playing in the background, that was pretty sick. That EDM, but the score done by Mark Isham, I think, it just didn't really do it for me. It was nothing memorable to write home about, but I do like that rave music. I looked it up on YouTube, and apparently it was a huge hit in the 90s, and it's got like 25 million views. I can say it's kind of a bop, man. I was listening to it the other day, and I was like, all right, you know what?
Yeah, I thought
I'm
I'd heard
into
that
this.
music before.
You probably have. It's pretty famous.
Yeah, I was like, right when that came on, I was watching it with my cousin. I was like, it's like classic '90s rave music. They've used this in probably every single movie about a dance party or a party in general. It's
Did your cousin like the movie, Micah?
he thought it was really cheesy. He's a sophomore in or no freshman. Yeah, sophomore in high school. He was watching with me. He was like, he definitely made fun of it a lot.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah. He yeah. I guess that's about all he had to say about it. Was just this really cheesy.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, another critique with this movie is kind of like last week with Howard the Duck. Is how you have this duck just walking around and people aren't really addressing it. There was a lot of that in this movie. Like there was that gunfight in the park, and this literal child gets thrown on the highway.
Yeah. Whoa. Holy cow.
And Blade does I think they redid this scene in Hawkeye. Like Kate Bishop jumps in front of a car and saves a dog. He jumps in front of the bus and saves his child. And everyone around him, there was just this gunfight in this park and this child on the road. They're all just walking, just strolling through life. I think there was a lot of that in this movie. And when he approaches the club,
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Yep.
he's like, "Where's your invitation?" He's like, "Well, I don't have one," or something. But he's not even addressing the big sword he has
Dude,
on
he's-
the coat.
He's in
Here's
full
my
armor,
invitation.
and he's like, he just strolls up and he's like, "No, I don't want your invitation." First thing I'd be like is like, "Yo, why do you have a sword and guns all locked up? Like, why are you prepped for war?" Also, if the Daywalker blade is so like notorious in the vampire community, don't you think they'd know? I'm with you, Ethan. That was a little whack.
What about when he's beating up a police officer in broad daylight in a busy street?
Oh,
That was awesome.
Like no one would stop him, and then when he runs away,
I
everyone just
listened
keeps
to
walking towards him and around, just
a
normally.
podcast. It was I think 4 African American dudes, and they were all talking about this scene, how happy it made them. Just this Blade character beating down on this white cop.
Well, so that was a little bit of cool world building that had there,
Yeah.
because there are literally servants of vampires who, if they serve them well and for long enough, they'll be bitten and become a vampire. Like there are dudes out there who want to become vampires. I thought that was so cool that they added that little detail in there, and that Blade had to explain it to Karen. He's like, I forget the name they used. There's a term that they use for him.
There are a lot of terms in this movie.
Yeah.
I really love the world building. They definitely
Yes.
did their research in this, and I liked how the whole cops were it was a trust nobody situation. You
Yep.
never know who's going to be an agent. I liked how Karen didn't know that the police guy was or wasn't a vampire. He was just a normal dude that was being commanded by the vampires. So he sprayed him with a vampire mace, which is essence of garlic.
Yes. Very good. All right. So, well, I guess I'll say this. Is there anything else we missed, you guys? Because I want to get into our rating of the film out of 10. But is there anything else we missed that we need to talk about?
So
Okay.
as we're going through this, we've wanted to keep an eye on Stan Lee cameos, but there was originally a Stan Lee cameo that was cut from this movie. In the opening rave scene, he's one of the cops that comes into the building.
Oh,
as
really?
Quinn, as Quinn is pinned to the wall on fire.
Dang it.
But I don't know why they cut it out of the movie.
So we're 0 for
sucks.
2 on Stan Lee cameos?
Yeah, we are.
Dang.
But he was close to making it in this one.
Ouch. Okay.
And then also something I want to say is when they brought Wesley Snipes in to play a Marvel character, the character he envisioned playing was Black Panther. He wanted to bring Black Panther to life.
I got a lot of
wow.
Black Panther vibes out of this movie. Did you guys feel that too?
Yes, that early in the stages, that
Yeah.
would have been very interesting. I'm glad they waited until now to do it with all the special effects, because you got Wakanda. That's a fully technological society, so it would have been kind of hard
Yeah,
to do
I don't know
in
how they would have
90s.
done that suit too.
That's
with
true.
the-
Well, I think because his suit in the movies is very like, all right, I'll just tap a button and it's all on me. But in the comics, there's a suit that he's got that is like a fabric and like a more of like a bat suit, and he has a cape and he's got like another hood that comes up in the back of him. He looks pretty sick in the comics. I hope they edit his. Well, who knows what they're gonna do with that character, man.
What
Rip
if they bring
Chadwick
back
Boseman,
Wesley
because-
Snipes as Black Panther?
No way. Holy cow. Wow. That would be something else, man. But what would you rate the movie out of 10? Out of every, like, I mean, it's obviously, oh, you know what? I shouldn't say this. In my opinion, it's better than Howard the Duck. But,
Whoa,
Micah,
whoa,
Micah,
whoa.
Micah,
Hot
let's do
takes,
this.
Ben. Jeez.
Is this our rating out of 10 or is this our ranking in the Marvel
all right, yeah, so
movies?
we'll do that after this. Ranking out of 10, for me personally, I think for me, it's a 7 out of 10. You know,
Yes.
it's not a 6 out of 10, because 6 out of 10 starts to really falter for me, but a 7 out of 10 is right down the middle. For an old 90s Marvel movie, this definitely has a lot to look forward to. Action spectacular, and I really like the world building that it did. And Blade is just a beast. He is so cool, and the world that they build around him. And I also really like Whistler, and the whole vampire, like, their whole community surrounding that was really good. There were a lot of scenes that really disgusted me, which takes a point off. And it is dated. So that's a little bit, and certain scenes are a little bit whack. We talked about the editing and cinematography. That car chase sequence, it's a little strange. Almost as bad as the Boba Fett sequence with the speeders. So we're kind of talking about that here in the same way. So a really good start to Marvel films as we knew them during the 2000s. And I'd say, yeah, better than Howard the Duck for sure. 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I agree, Ben. I want to be different, but it's a 7 out of 10. This movie isn't spectacular, but it's definitely not horrible. This movie is such a fun movie. I do say where it fails is the surrounding characters. I think Blade and Whistler, I think those two are really the standout characters for me. But I think every other character doesn't really hold up, really. Deacon Frost, I'm not the biggest fan of. And I think a lot of the rush plot elements, like Karen curing Blade's vampire disease in a day after trying like it once, that annoyed me.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff with Karen, I really didn't like what they were doing. But the action sequences are just so good. I had the biggest smile on my face whenever Wesley Snipes was on screen.
Indeed. Micah, 1 out of 10. What would you give it?
Well, all right, I'll agree with you. It is better than Howard the Duck. Let's just get this out of the way.
Definitely.
By how much? That's up to debate.
Well, why don't you
up to
tell us
debate.
by how much, Micah?
All right, so Howard the Duck, I gave a 6.5.
Yes,
I believe.
Which is all right. You've had a week to think about that. Do you change that 6.5 rating?
I'll keep
You
it
don't
at
want
6.5.
to. You don't want to maybe make it a 2? You
A
don't want a
2?
2?
What?
Yeah.
No, 6.5 is perfectly fine for me. I still enjoyed Howard the Duck. I will still, I would watch that again.
Oh, you're a clown.
You're a
You're a
clown.
clown.
Hey, listen, I think Micah gave some great reasons as to why he enjoys that movie. And listen, a 6 out of 10 is the highest I could see it going for anyone. But I think Micah gave gave good reasons on why he likes it, I should say.
So for Blade, I enjoyed it as well. I would say the fight scenes were spectacular. That's the strongest point of the movie. The world building is a great point as well. I got to go with. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I can't go higher than a 6.7.
Micah,
6.7.
no. You're giving Howard the Duck a 6.5 and Blade a 6.7?
Yes, sir.
Micah.
Giving myself room to grow. If I give it a
dude.
7, if
Yeah.
I give it a 7, do you know where would like Spider-Man go? Where I've got all these movies still. I'm looking at this list right now. It takes me like a minute just to scroll to the bottom of them, and I think there's still room to grow. There is room.
All right, I can see it being like a 6. But
No.
I can't
Here.
see it being on the same level or at least close to Howard the Duck. That's where I'm
I
getting.
mean, you
hung
guys
up.
gave it a 7. That's
I'm not mad with the
0.5.
6.7. No, I'm very excited with your 6.7.
Yeah.
I think that is a great
I think you guys
score.
are hung up on
I
Howard
just
the Duck.
it is so close to your Howard the
Right.
Duck score that
It's
it's really bugging me because Howard the Duck is egregious. And I've had a whole week to think about it, and I gave Howard the Duck I think a 3 last week. I'm giving it a 2 this week.
Dang.
It is.
all right.
I can't believe that.
All right,
Micah.
you know what? Actually, I'm gonna. It's a little bit. It's a to Micah's point though. I gave it a 3 last week. I think I would actually bump it up to a 4.
Really?
I'm not gonna lie,
Oh.
because after I listened to a couple of podcasts and I thought about it a little bit more, just how funny and over the top it is.
It was
pushes
funny.
it. I mean, listen, it's not good, and I do not like the movie. But it's at a 3. Maybe that's a little too harsh. I'm gonna bump it up to a 4. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Blade's better, without a doubt.
Another point to Ben's review there. He said that there were some spots that made him grossed out. I think that's what Blade was going for, though. I gave it a couple extra points for the gross parts, like that super bloated dude.
Yeah.
It was intentional that he was supposed to be disgusting, and the guys exploding the hallways, and the guys, the what's his name, Edward Cullen, I don't know, vampire dude,
Deacon
how
Frost.
he explodes at the end. Yeah. Frost dude. He explodes at the end. That's disgusting. We didn't even talk about how Whistler gets beat down
Yeah.
and
Ooh,
stomped
yeah,
on.
yep.
He gets curb stomped. That's disgusting. I thought
That
that he was going to
hurts to
be
see,
really
yeah.
messed up when they
Yeah.
went back to him. I thought his
I
skull was
really,
going to be caved
I
in.
really did appreciate how when Whistler was turned into a vampire, they didn't show him on screen having to kill himself.
No, he wasn't turning into a vampire. He thought he was too far gone, beat up. Like he didn't think he was going to recover because he already had
They
cancer.
bit him though. They had to have bit him.
I mean, they could have,
Did
but
they
that's not
bite
why
him?
that's not why he shot himself. He shot himself because he was so beat up. Blade said, "I can heal you. I can fix you. I can get you recovered." And Whistler was like, "No, I'm too far gone. If you fix me up, how much longer would I have left anyway?"
Which, I mean,
That's
I
what he
guess
said.
that makes sense for his character. He hates vampires, like, with a passion. I think the thought of him becoming one is got to be the worst thought for him. So
Yeah.
it totally makes sense that he would kill himself.
Yeah, I don't think that he was bit though. I don't think he was bit. I think he was just beat up beyond repair to his reasonability. Like he wouldn't have wanted to live after that.
Yeah, no way. I mean, I think he could have been. I just didn't see it. So I'm with you. But all right, Mikey gives it
So, yeah.
a 6.7.
6.7.
That's pretty insane. But I think we've got Blade and Howard the Duck, and I've done something pretty. So I made this on my Apple Notes here. I've got 4 categories here. It's Marvel movies ranked based on the audience score. Blade 78% audience score based on for Rotten Tomatoes, and then Howard the Duck is 38%. So I'm going to catalog these as it goes along. So we'll have that as a list. I also have it based on the Rotten Tomatoes official score. Blade's a 57, Howard the Duck's a 14%. So as we go on, we're going to have this to compare with our ranking of the movie. And let me just say, from here on out, when we rank things as a unit. So we all have to come to an
Yeah, I have
agreement
to agree.
on where it fits in. I mean, we might not totally agree with it, but I think we have to make a case for where it fits into our rankings. So like if we really hate this movie, but someone else really likes it, we're gonna have to come to a middle ground.
That's gonna be so fun because
Yes.
this week is easy. We all agree this movie is
Yeah,
better
it's
than
better
Howard
than
the
Howard the
Duck.
Duck.
Right.
It's better than.
But
Howard the
next
Duck.
week with the X-Men,
Who knows?
we'll see.
Exactly. So and then I
know
also,
X-Men's good. I think it's a similar level to Blade. We'll have to see. If I can remember it.
yeah.
I think I watched it 2 years ago.
I haven't seen it in a long, long time. So I'm excited to rewatch this movie, but with a very more educated lens. Let's just say that. I also have them ranked based on box office success. So Blade made $131 million worldwide. Yeah, that'll be worldwide box office. I mean, we know which one's going to be 1 and 2, Endgame and Infinity War, but I'm interested to see where they rank based on how much money they made. So I'll catalog that as we go along, and then we also, of course, have our ranking. So,
Which is the only ranking that matters.
truly,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's why we're doing
So
this.
we've got Blade and Howard the Duck. We're gonna have to get spreadsheets up here as time goes on, so the viewers can see. But I think I'm certainly looking forward to next week for X-Men. Gentlemen, any closing thoughts that we have here? I think we've exhausted Blade beyond its total length. So
I didn't think I'd be as excited to watch Blade 2, but when I looked and saw that X-Men was next, I wasn't bummed.
No,
but I really do want to watch Blade 2.
I'm excited, man.
So after X-Men, are we taking a break for Morbius? Or are we going to do 2 episodes that week, or what's going on there?
Probably take a break for Morbius.
We'll take
maybe.
a break for Morbius, and if Mike, I know you're on this journey to cover every Marvel movie, but if you'd like to watch Morbius with it and come on the podcast for us, we'd love to have you.
Oh yeah.
If you'd like to be on here, but I think that does it, everybody. That does it for this week. Like we said, X-Men's coming up next week. That'll be up on the next Monday, but that next week we'll be covering Morbius. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Spotify. Otherwise, this is Ben Rayside.
This is Ethan Wensloff.
This is Micah Het.
And we hope that you all have an absolutely fantastic day.